Summary of the Caucasian Chalk Circle by Bertolt Brecht. It is summertime in 1945. People from two collective farms meet with a group from the State Reconstruction Commission in the ruins of a Caucasian town that was destroyed by the Second World War. The collective goat farm Rosa Luxemburg, they had to leave their beautiful valley when Hitler's troops were coming, but now they want it back. The collective fruit farm Galensk, on the other hand, wants the valley for itself. Members of each farm make their case to the group. Finally, a member of the fruit farm Galensk reveals plans for a huge project to irrigate the valley, grow more fruit, and plant vineyards. She shows the group her plans, and they are amazed by how ambitious they are. Even the Rosa Luxemburg farmers agree that the fruit farmers are better suited to use the land in the valley. The delegation and the people from both farms decide to spend the night enjoying the victory of reason by watching the famous singer Arkady Tskhids perform. Arkady shows up and says that he will do a modified version of the chalk circle, which is a very old Chinese story. Arkady starts the play within a play by telling the story of Georgy Abashvili, a rich governor who runs a city in Grunisia with the help of his beautiful, vain wife Natella and his spoiled baby son Michael. Even though his country is at war, the governor gives himself and his family a lot of luxuries. For example, 2 doctors are always on call to care for Michael, and there are plans to make a big addition to the governor's palace. On Easter Sunday, the hated Grand Duke and all of his governors are overthrown by Arsen Kazbeki, who is known as the Fat Prince. When Georgy is taken prisoner, his servants get the house ready for a siege while Natella, Georgy's wife, is rushed to safety. Natella has packed a lot for her trip out of the city. She tells her slaves to bring her more clothes and finery from her bedroom, and the one who is watching Michael puts the baby down on the ground so that the other servant can get Natella's things. During the chaos of the coup, a servant girl named Grusha and a soldier named Simon Shishava say they love each other. As a red sky rises over the city, Simon proposes to Grusha by giving her a silver cross on a chain, and Natella has to run away, leaving her things behind. But Michael is also left behind in the chaos. Grusha picks him up, and even though her fellow servants tell her to leave the kid alone because the Fat Prince's ironshirts will be looking for him, she takes him away from the palace to safety. As Grusha and Michael make their way into the woods, they become close. Grusha doesn't have much money, so she begs for milk and protection at the cottages she comes across. When Grusha arrives at the home of a poor woman and her husband, she can no longer carry the child and leaves him on their doorstep. Grusha leaves, but soon runs into 2 ironshirts and their corporal. They ask her if she has heard of or seen a lost baby from a good family, who is sure to be dressed in nice clothes. Grusha gets scared when she realizes that the men want to hurt Michael. She runs back to the poor woman's house and begs her to take off the baby's fine linen wrappings and says that he is her own child. When the ironshirts come to ask Grusha why she ran away, the corporal sees the baby wrapped in fine linen. The poor woman panics and says that the baby is not hers. As the corporal tries to lift the baby out of the cot, Grusha hits him on the head with a log. She takes Michael again and runs away. When Grusha gets to a glacier that leads to the mountain towns, she finds that the bridge over a deep gorge is in bad shape. Even though the merchants at the bridge tell Grusha that crossing is dangerous, she runs across anyway when she hears the ironshirts coming. The ironshirts show up, but they know they can't cross the bridge because it's broken. Michael goes deeper into the mountains with Grusha. Grusha walks through the cold woods for 7 days to get to her brother's house. As she goes, she thinks about how her brother and his wife will welcome her and how good the food will be that they will serve her and Michael. But when she gets there, she is weak and desperate, and her brother Lavrenti and his very religious wife Anniko wonder what Grusha is doing by herself with a child. Even though Anniko doesn't trust Grusha being there, Lavrenti lets her and Michael stay. But after 6 months, the snow has started to melt, and Lavrenti tells Grusha that she and Michael need to leave. Lavrenti has set up a marriage between Grusha and the son of a local farmer's wife. Grusha is upset because she is engaged to Simon Shishava, but Lavrenti says that this man will only be her husband on paper. Simon is sick and very close to dying, and when he does, Grusha will get his land and home. Grusha agrees to help her brother carry out his plan. When she gets to the house of her soon-to-be husband, her soon-to-be mother-in-law rushes through the ritual. She has hired a local monk to make sure the marriage is official as soon as possible because her son is dying. As more and more neighbors come to see the strange scene, some start to talk about the political strife in Gruzinia. They say that the Grand Duke is back in power and that all the soldiers will soon be coming home from war. Grusha is upset when she realizes, right after she has tied the knot with someone else, that this means Simon will be back soon. Just then, Grusha's new husband, sits up from his deathbed and looks around. As time goes on, Grusha has to deal with her new husband's growing dislike for her and Michael, as well as his harsher expectations. Every day, he makes fun of Grusha and tells her that her beloved Simon will never come back for her. Michael gets older over time, and Grusha starts to forget about Simon. Grusha washes clothes in a nearby stream one day while Michael plays with some of his neighborhood friends. Grusha is very happy when Simon gets to the river, but she has to tell him the sad news that she can never go back to Nuka because she attacked an Ironshirt and married another man. Simon asks Grusha if she has a child when he sees a child's hat in the grass. She says she does, but she says it's not hers. Simon tells Grusha to throw the cross he gave her into the stream, and then he goes. Children nearby are yelling that 2 Ironshirts have taken Michael because they think he is the son and heir of the late governor of Nuka. Grusha goes with the troops back to the city, where she knows she will be put on trial. Arkady goes back in time to tell the story of Azdak, the judge who will decide whether Grusha can keep Michael or not. A long time ago, Azdak took in an old man he thought was a beggar. Later, he found out that the man was actually the Grand Duke, who had just been kicked out of power. Azdak felt bad about giving a corrupt and hated politician a place to stay, so he called himself a traitor and went to the officials in Nuka to be judged. When he got there, he saw that all of the judges had been killed in the coup. The Ironshirts made Azdak the new judge in Nuka because they thought he was a good person. Since then, Azdak has made a name for himself as a judge who doesn't do things the usual way. He often hears 2 or more cases at once and comes to surprising but fair decisions. People all over the country start calling him the poor man's magistrate. When the Grand Duke comes back, though, and the fat prince is put to death, Azdak worries that all of the strange things he has done and the choices he has made over the years will come back to bite him. Instead, when Nadella goes back to Nuka to get her husband's property, she asks Azdak to help her, and he does so gladly. Grusha sees her servant friends at court in Nuka, where chaos and revolt are still going on. One of the royal cooks tells Grusha that she is lucky that Azdak is hearing her case. He says that Azdak is not a real judge because he stands up for the poor. Simon shows up and says that he will swear in court that he is the father of Grusha's baby. Grusha almost runs into the corporal she attacked at the foot of the mountains, but he doesn't recognize her. Natella walks into court with her lawyers and says out loud how much she hates regular people. Azdak finally takes his place as judge and, after hearing Natella's statement and taking a bribe from Natella's lawyers, asks Grusha to explain why the child should be given to Natella. Grusha just says that the child is hers and that she raised him, dressed him, fed him, and taught him how to be kind and work hard. The lawyers for Natella then bring up the fact that Michael is the governor's heir. They say that it would be best for Michael to get the governor's lands. Grusha, Simon, and the cook try to argue Grusha's case, but Azdak holds them all in contempt and fines them. Grusha says that Azdak is a liar and a sycophant, and she calls him a drunken onion and a bribe taker. Azdak puts the case on hold for 15 minutes. He pulls Grusha aside and asks her why she doesn't want her son to grow up with all the best things in life. Grusha doesn't answer, but Arkady sings what she's thinking: if Michael is rich when he grows up, he will be mean. Michael is brought into the courtroom, and Azdak says that he has come up with a way to find out who the real mother of the child is. He draws a circle on the ground, puts Michael in the middle of it, and tells Grusha and Natella to each grab one of Michael's hands and pull. The child's real mother is the one who can pull him out of the circle. When Azdak tells the women to pull, Natella pulls Michael over to her side easily, but Grusha doesn't pull at all. Azdak tells the woman to do the test again after Grusha asks him to let her keep the child for a little while longer. Again, Natella roughly pulls Michael out of the circle, while Grusha cries that she can't hurt the child she has raised since he was a baby. So, Azdak says that Michael's real mother is Grusha and tells her to take Michael and leave the city. He also says that the governor's lands will be taken over by the city and turned into a playground for kids. Natella blacks out, and her lawyers have to carry her away. Azdak then takes off his judge's robes and asks everyone there to dance and drink with him outside. As his last move, he gets Grusha a divorce from Jessup, so she and Simon can finally be together. While Michael, Simon, and Grusha dance, Azdak stands alone, lost in thought. Arkady sings the lesson of his story, which is similar to what the poor farmers learned in the prologue, that what is will go to those who deserve it.
About the author. Bertolt Brecht was a German playwright, poet, and theater director. He is probably best known as the creator of epic theater, which is plays and musicals that, in contrast to naturalist or realistic drama, often use choruses and narration to show how fake the theater is and to clearly and methodically explain to the audience both what the characters are thinking and what the work is about. In 1918, Brecht began writing plays. The violence and unfairness of the First World War had a big impact on his early work. It had strong anarchist undertones and went against both social and artistic rules. Brecht made a name for himself in the Berlin theater scene, and his career took off after the Threepenny Opera was a big hit. However, when the Nazis came to power in 1933, Brecht left Germany and went to Denmark, Sweden, and Finland for safety while he waited for permission to live and work in the United States. As a writer in exile, he wrote some of his best-known books, including Life of Galileo, Mother Courage and Her Children, and The Caucasian Chalk Circle. Brecht's career was threatened again when he was named as a dangerous person during the Red Scare at the start of the Cold War because he was a Marxist and spoke out about his political views. When Brecht moved back to Berlin in 1949, he started the Berliner Ensemble. Until he died in 1956, he lived in the Mitte neighborhood of Berlin. Even now, the Berliner Ensemble keeps making music that is new and different.
Hope we summarized it fully and you liked it. Please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel so that we are motivated to create more videos.